Today, we are excited to present our comprehensive study on optimizing EV charging infrastructure in North Carolina, a data-driven approach. Our team, consisting of Carl F. Mason, Jocelyn B. Russell, Swapna Krishnan Kuddy, and myself, Tom Murray, have worked diligently to develop a strategic plan for placing electric vehicle charging stations along the state's major corridors, including I-40, I-85, I-77, and I-95. The rapid growth of electric vehicles in North Carolina necessitates a well-planned and efficient charging infrastructure to support the increasing number of EV owners and alleviate range anxiety. By leveraging advanced data analysis and predictive modeling techniques, we aim to identify the optimal locations for new charging stations, taking into account factors such as traffic patterns, population density, EV adoption rates, and existing infrastructure. Our study focuses on balancing the distribution of charging stations between urban and rural areas, ensuring equitable access to charging infrastructure across the state. We also prioritize the placement of stations along major travel corridors to facilitate long-distance travel and boost consumer confidence in EVs. Throughout this presentation, we will share our methodology, key findings, and recommendations for implementing an optimized EV charging infrastructure plan. Our goal is to support the growing adoption of EVs, contribute to North Carolina's environmental sustainability efforts, and position the state as a leader in sustainable transportation. We believe that our data-driven approach will provide valuable insights for policymakers, urban planners, and EV infrastructure developers, ultimately enhancing North Carolina's sustainable transportation network and driving the state towards a greener future. Our project follows a four-phase methodology to ensure a thorough and comprehensive approach. First, we conduct a market analysis to examine current EV adoption trends and existing infrastructure. This helps us understand the present landscape and identify areas for improvement. Next, we perform a detailed data analysis focusing on traffic patterns, population density, and points of interest along the major corridors. This information is crucial for determining the optimal locations for new charging stations. In the third phase, we develop predictive models to forecast future EV charging needs, allowing us to plan for the long term. Finally, we create a location optimization algorithm that identifies the ideal spots for placing charging stations based on the insights gathered from the previous phases.
Now let's dive deep into what's happening with electric vehicles across our state. I'm thrilled to tell you that North Carolina just has crossed a remarkable threshold. We now have over 101,000 electric vehicles on our roads. That's not just the statistics, it's a clear signal that our state is embracing the future of transportation. The story gets even more interesting when we look at the details. Our citizens are increasingly choosing fully electric vehicles over hybrids, showing growing confidence in this technology. This shift happening faster than many predicted. What fascinates me most is how these adoption patterns fluctuate throughout the year. In peak months, we've seen close to 300 new EVs hitting our roads. Yet, we also see natural dips in certain seasons, giving us valuable insights into when and how North Carolinians make these important transitions. These patterns tell us something crucial. We need to act now to ensure our infrastructure keeps pace with this growth. The momentum we're seeing isn't slowing down. If anything, it's accelerating. Let me put it in this perspective. Every new EV on our road represents a family or a business choosing to invest in cleaner transportation. And all this pace, we're not just following trends, we're helping set them. Across North Carolina's highways, not in the traditional sense, but through the lens of electric vehicle adoption. Let's start with I 40, our state's major east to west artery. This corridor leads the way with over 54,000 electric vehicles. That's more than one in every 100 vehicles. It's becoming our electric superhighway, if you will. Moving to I 85, we're seeing similar enthusiasm with nearly 39,000 EVs and comparable adoption rates. The story changes as we head north on I 77, where we are about to have 20,500 EVs, showing that there's still room for growth. Perhaps most telling is I 95, where we see just over 4,500 EVs. This stark contrast from over 54,000 on I 40 to under 5,000 on I 95 tells us something crucial about our state's charging infrastructure needs. What does this mean for North Carolina? Simply put, we need to ensure that whether you're driving from mountains to the coast or from Charlotte to Virginia border, you have equal access to charging stations. A balanced charging network isn't just about convenience, it's about equality and accessibility for all North Carolinians. Let me walk you through how we're tackling one of our biggest challenges strategically placing EV charging stations across North Carolina. We've created what I like to call our smart location model. Think of it as a sophisticated GPS system that helps us pinpoint exactly where new charging stations will have the greatest impact. Our model focuses on two key set factors. The primary drivers, accounting for 6% of our decisions, are what we call the critical three: traffic density, where people are actually driving, charging gaps, areas where drivers need additional charging options, population centers, where our communities are growing. Now, here's what makes our approach unique. We also look at the three future ready factors that make up the remaining 40%. Current EV adoption trends, urban versus rural needs, connectivity between major routes using this data. We've created a priority map with three tiers. High priority zones scoring above 80, growth zones between 60 to 80%, emerging areas below 6%. I'll now hand this over to my colleague Swampa, who will detail our infrastructure gaps analysis and the exciting opportunities ahead. Swampa?
Thank you, Jocelyn. Hello, I'm Swapna Krishnankuti, and I will begin with our analysis on key gaps and opportunities in North Carolina's EV charging infrastructure. The I-95 corridor is critical area with minimal infrastructure, supporting only 4,577 EVs and a 0.40% adoption rate. Eastern North Carolina also lacks sufficient coverage, making it priority for future expansion. We found limited DC fast charging availability in certain regions. DC fast chargers are essential for quickly recharging EVs during long distance travel, and their absence can contribute to range anxiety among EV owners. We have identified underserved segments in rural areas between major cities. Compared to urban areas like Raleigh and Charlotte, rural areas face significant disparities, requiring strategic planning to ensure equitable access. These areas often lack sufficient charging infrastructure, which can hinder EV adoption and create charging deserts. We recognize the need for improved intercity connections and rural area coverage to ensure a seamless and convenient charging experience for all EV drivers. Opportunities are concentrated along I 40 and I 85 corridor, which connect major urban centers and exhibit high traffic and EV adoption. Addressing these gaps and opportunities will be crucial in promoting the widespread adoption of EVs across North Carolina. To bring our optimized EV charging infrastructure plan to action, we propose the following implementation strategy. First, we recommend a phased deployment approach, prioritizing high impact locations based on the results of our optimization model. This will ensure that the most critical areas receive the necessary infrastructure. Second, we emphasize the importance of public private partnership in funding and implementing new charging stations. Collaboration between government agencies, utilities, and private charging companies will be essential for the successful rollout of the expanded charging network. Third, we stress the need for continuous monitoring of infrastructure's performance, allowing for adjustments and improvements as needed. Finally, we advocate the supportive policies that accelerate EV adoption and infrastructure development, creating a favorable environment for the transition to electric transportation. So, to summarize, here is the results of the analysis and their implications. By mid 2024, EV registrations reached approximately 102,000 with an annual growth rate of 42.1%. This accelerating trend underscores the need for proactive infrastructure development. Predictive models, particularly the third degree polynomial with R square value of 0.999, effectively captures growth trends, enabling accurate planning. The proposed infrastructure improvements address range anxiety, increase EV accessibility in underserved regions, and support long term EV adoption. These results provide a solid foundation for strategic infrastructure investments across North Carolina. Now I'll hand it over to Carl to conclude the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. In conclusion, our data-driven approach to optimizing EV charging infrastructure in North Carolina is a significant step towards a more sustainable future. By strategically planning the placement of charging stations, we can effectively support the growing adoption of EVs in the state. This, in turn, fosters economic growth by creating jobs and promoting technological innovation in the transportation sector. Moreover, an expanded EV infrastructure directly contributes to reduced carbon emissions and cleaner air, benefiting public health and the environment. By implementing this optimized EV charging infrastructure plan, North Carolina positions itself as a leader in sustainable transportation, promoting economic resilience and environmental stewardship for generations to come. Our team is confident that this comprehensive approach will pave the way for greener, more connected, and more prosperous North Carolina.